It's good to be here in the house of the Lord, and I hope that those waters of blessing may descend from heaven today. You know, we've been arriving here with several challenges today. For example, the time change, an hour less to sleep. I hope that you can take advantage of this hour. If you if you need to close your eyes to hear better the message, it's okay. The other is the situation with the snow. For example, I had to clean completely off my car so that I could be here. How many of you had to clean the snow off your car? Oh yeah, that's a few of you. Okay. I'm going to read from John chapter 4, verses 4 through 10. Sorry, verses 13 and then 34. And then we'll enter the message today. Also asking for your help. I always think that, like I said last time I was here, let's remember that we always, preacher, it's not always the persons up here speaking of the preacher, prophet, evangelist, but the preaching is a complete act of the whole congregation. Because always there will always be a teaching that should be put into practice during the week. So let's be vigilant to this. John chapter 4, verses 4 through 10. And he must needs go through Samaria. I'm going to repeat that. So it was necessary for Jesus to go through Samaria. They came to a city of Samaria, which is called Sychar, near the parcel of ground that Jacob gave to his son Joseph. Now, Jacob's well was there. Jesus, therefore, being wearied. How is it possible that Jesus, being divine, would be tired, wearied? Yeah, he arrived there and he was wearied. He was exhausted. Jesus, therefore, being wearied with his journey, sat thus on the well, and it was about the 6th hour, which is around noon, possibly. There cometh a woman of Samaria to draw water. Jesus said unto her, Give me to drink. Before she drew the water, Jesus asked him, Give me to drink. So Jesus was thirsty. For his disciples were gone away unto the city to buy meat. Then saith the woman of Samaria unto him, How is it that thou, being a Jew, askest drink of me, which am a woman of Samaria? For the Jews have no dealings with the Samaritans. Let's go to verse 14. But whosoever drinketh of the water that I shall give him shall never thirst. But the water that I shall give him shall be in him a well of water springing up into everlasting life. That's very dramatic, isn't it? Imagine saying, I'll give you water to be springing up. It says here that springing up for into everlasting life. verse 14 to 34. Jesus answered them, "My meat is to do the will on him that sent me, and to finish his work." I want to emphasize a little to the needs of drinking water when we are thirsty. But first, I want to talk about my experience when I was a child, because in Puerto Rico, like in a lot of countries represented here, there was no drinking water. So we had to go to the spring, to the hole, to the river, go fetch water for all types of needs that we had at the home. So when I was 7 years old, approximately, on one occasion, I was with my mother to a well, spring, to fetch water. At that time, in Puerto Rico, there was a situation, a painful situation, with that illness, what we call known as tuberculosis. When we were going to school, always the teacher would tell us, be careful. From where you draw water from. If a person that drinks water from that container, don't use it again. So it so happened that when my mother and I were there near Ay Bonito, Puerto Rico, in the center of the island, searching water, we were going with a little basin to draw water out in the place where we were supposed to draw the water from. There was a lady there. Her name was Ripa. Never heard that name again since then. She took water from the basin that mom had. And I told my mom in front of her, look, we need to be careful. Drink water from there. Who knows if she has tuberculosis? Oh my, guess what? The lady said, look, your son is being disrespectful. You better tell your son to watch it. But that was me as a child. Now, I wanted to, really, this morning, ask the congregation about what are the experiences that you have had in your country with water. What's the water? What is the situation of the water? I would like to see. Tell me. Yeah, there's some places they don't have water, running water. Please stand up and say it. I cannot hear what she's saying. So there was a lack of water And water is something that's needed. For a lot of human event is water. Anyone else? You were saying something. What's the situation like? Okay. Someone else. Any of you foreigners here? I read a book not too long ago about an immigrant on occasions. Some of the people took compassion of the immigrants that were coming in. They could, you can see that those immigrants, you could identify them as Jesus, like Jesus. So like Jesus was tired of walking, so they had to rest. Some of these immigrants were some people that took compassion on them and would give them water so that they could quench their thirst. That is to say, a lot of times we have suffer due to these situations. Actually, I wanted to say that which was pretty interesting. When we talk about water, water can also, it can cause disasters, occasionally. Sometimes there's a lot of too much water, storms, floodings. Precisely. I brought this because it says here that in Goshen there's gonna be a public meeting, and you know what they're gonna talk about in this public meeting: learning how to deal with the floods in Goshen. This will be on March 16 this year. In other words, this coming Thursday, from 4:30 to 6:30 in Shanklin Park, 411 West Plymouth Avenue, and everyone's invited. Everyone's invited. Even here, in this town where we live, there's a situation how to deal with floods, and would like for the community to, or this city's administration would like to inform the community about it and how to understand it. And it's interesting. Talking about this person who's related to my wife. Call him right here. I'm not sure if you received this or not. Yes. If you did receive it, try to go. It's a good way to get to know the area where we're at. I would also like to continue, especially with the situation of the importance of water in the Gospel according to John. I'm not sure how many of you have a Bible at home. Some of you don't have one yet. Okay. I advise you during the week start read the 4th chapter of John, the book of John, because we can't tell you everything. You know something, that when I was a professor, one of the ways to learn was to create certain uncertainties. I'm not sure how many of you leave church, anxious, like trying to do the teachings that Jesus taught us. I would like to see more enthusiasm with the Word of God. There's no more enthusiasm like when we watch a sport event. But sometimes, like, we're lacking that desire. You know something? When Jesus when Jesus is there in this place, resting next to the well, where we find that a Samaritan woman comes, and that woman had her problems. Looks like she didn't have a good reputation, and evidently she couldn't go a place that was closer to the city where she lived to search water. So she probably had to walk about a half hour to that find that place. Well, this woman found Jesus. And I think this is the first, according to my judgment, that Jesus that has a conversation, a significant conversation with this person who didn't have a good reputation. Well, they said that she had 5 husbands. She was Samaritan. Didn't get along well with Jews due to certain historical situations. But Jesus took sympathy on her. And one thing that Jesus did not condemn her. Maybe there's people in your town who may reject him due to her past, but Jesus takes advantage of the situation to use the image of thirst, water and thirst, to be able to proclaim the reality of salvation, which is what this woman needed. I'm sure you notice that when we go to the Bible, in the New Testament, Jesus uses human situations to give a spiritual teaching. With Nicodemus, what did he do? Nicodemus told him, hey, to enter the kingdom of heaven, he said, you need to be born again. And he also said that he who was not born again of water or in spirit cannot enter the kingdom of heaven. And then we find other sections of John talk about the water of baptism. Actually, this chapter 4 starts saying that some Pharisees were saying that Jesus was baptizing disciples. It wasn't so much that. It was the disciples that were baptizing some people. In a way that we see in all of this how God takes the human element and brings new teaching. Now, I don't want to extend myself a little, go further this morning, but know that this woman needed to understand what was, let's say, connecting with the King of Salvation. Through Jesus, he wants to save the whole world. God wants to save the whole world. I want to save everyone from Latin America. You know something? I've heard that sometimes in some places of Latin America, you haven't heard of Jesus. And we need people like this Samaritan woman to arrive to that unique experience, to feel that Jesus is the water of life. I sometimes have thought about that maybe as human, that us as humans, we just think we're flesh and bones. But from time to time, God intercedes in our lives and says, remember that I have put eternity in you. And let's think not only to provide for the material part and the physical body, but for the spirit as well and the soul. And listen to that woman when she discovers this with enthusiasm and goes and preaches and gives testimony to who? The Bible doesn't say he gives to the, because she goes to the women. No, she goes to the men. She had fallen a few times in temptation with men, but now it's with a different thing. I have met someone who has told me all I have done. Haven't we had an encounter like that with Jesus? Is Jesus just making us aware that we have to change? That we have to have a reconnection with God and then go out with enthusiasm like this woman to proclaim the faith that is found in Jesus, that living water, in a way that a lot of men also discovered that reality. And that is truly what God expects from you, what God expects of me. And I hope that the Lord helps us, all of us, believe that Jesus is present today in the midst of all circumstances. Doesn't matter which one it is. And when that is reached, God bless us and guides us. I would like to finish. Let's see if I find it here. Revelation 21:6. And he said to me, it is done. I am Alpha and the Omega. And I will give unto them the... He is the living water for you. Thank you, thank you.